Mostly those steroid hormones that we tend to associate with male and female. Now, the gonads are regulated by hormones in the anterior pituitary. Do you guys remember luteinizing, follicle stimulating? Okay. One of the things about the ovaries, well, we mentioned a bit ago the estradiol, but we also have progestin, inhibin, estrogen as a whole. We need those hormones in the ovaries for egg development. One of the things I think we've mentioned is how the ovaries alternate and roughly produce an egg. Okay, it takes, roughly we get that production every 28 days, but 1 month it's from this one, 1 month it's from that one, so technically it's double in each ovary. Does that make sense? Okay, so as we go through the development of the egg, it's going to go through certain cellular processes because, you know, we've got to go through mitosis. If you remember mitosis and meiosis, okay? And meiosis was to make sure that we cut the chromosomes in half. Where we normally have 46, we end up with 23 in the egg. And then it has to literally spit out the egg so that it makes it to the fallopian tubes. And then it becomes the job of the corpus luteum and so forth to deal with the progesterone so that we can get the uterus, the lining of the uterus, ready for implantation after fertilization. If there's no fertilization, that is what is shed at menstruation. That lining of the uterus is what we shed. For the testes, we're going to find the seminiferous tubules, and in this tubular structure that's present in the testes, the goal produce sperm. So they take the immature cells, and as the cells travel the tubular structure and get exposed to the hormones, the goal, control the rate of sperm production and make sure meiosis occurs. So once again, the sperm won't have 46 chromosomes, it'll have 23. The goal is to make sure the egg has 23, the sperm has 23, fertilization occurs, they create the chromosomal individual with 46 chromosomes. That's the goal of fertilization. In the structure of the testes, we're going to find some interstitial endocrine cells. Interstitial means in between cells. Okay? So interstitial endocrine cells. This is the source of the testosterone and those sex steroids. The goal, help with development of the male reproductive system, basically from the time of fetus through adult life. Those cells would be affected by stuff such as the LH, the luteinizing hormone, and the FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. So the goal would be to produce the egg and the sperm, because producing egg and sperm, and if fertilization occurs, then we have now propagated the species, one of the characteristics of life. So once again, this would be this system, this endocrine system, controlling homeostasis of the cell. Some functions of other tissues and organs in the endocrine system. The skin is important because with sunlight, basically the UV, which, yeah, we're told is kind of bad, but we do need some exposure to sunlight. UVA, UVB, not too good. But anyway, we have to take that light. And these hormones, in the presence of vitamin D, okay, they are able to create cholecalciferol and then calcitriol, with the help of the liver and kidneys so that we can help regulate calcium, which is the reason that if you're told to like take a calcium supplement, they will usually say take vitamin D with it. And sometimes, like when the days are really short, we don't get as much exposure to sunlight, you'll find some people that take vitamin D because the levels drop, and it does affect different things in the body. Now, the liver, it is entirely too complex for us to even begin to get into. I don't even know if we as a whole know everything about the liver. Okay, it's an amazing organ. We know of at least 5 hormones that the liver works with. The cholecalciferol for the help with the calcium, angiotensin for the Ra system, erythropoietin for red blood cell production, IGFs for growth hormone, hepcidin for the eye. I mean, there are just so many things. It's impossible for us to really know everything about the liver. Plus, it's just too complex. Our heart releases some hormones. They're very important, and what they will be is released, these particular hormones will get released when blood pressure problems are present. This time, it's when the blood pressure is high. When the blood pressure is high, the heart will release what's termed natriuretic peptides. Now, if you remember, a peptide is a string of amino acids. Their goal, increase sodium excretion. What did we do with the Ra and the aldosterone and the angiotensin? What did it do with the sodium excretion?
Decrease.
It decreased it so that we would hold water. This time, it increases sodium because water likes to follow sodium, and this means we would decrease blood volume, and if we decrease blood volume, we decrease blood pressure. Is everybody with me? So the heart will help to do that. That is not in any way a long-term control of blood pressure problems. If blood pressure problems become chronic, this is when medications are needed. Our kidneys, we know of at least 3 hormones. We'll get into a couple of them when we get into that chapter. They're going to help with that calcitriol, the vitamin D, help to turn it into stuff that we might need for the body. They're going to secrete the renin. Renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, Ra. Yeah. Remember, endocrine, liver, kidneys, lungs, a bunch of it, which will help to convert it and use the ACE from the lungs so that we can raise the blood pressure, so that we retain the sodium, therefore retain the water, increase the blood volume, and increase our blood pressure. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Stomach and intestines, at least 10 that we know of. Do you guys remember us talking about the enteric nervous system? Okay, we know of at least 10 enteric hormones. These are our gut-brain peptides. Their goal, make sure that we have communication between the gut and the brain about our fat storage and that sort of thing. So that goes all the way back to part 1. They should have covered that in part 1. All right. So that is huge. Adipose tissue. leptin. This is one that they're studying right now because they're saying that people who have the severe obesity, this doesn't function correctly. So they are studying this in relationship to obesity. Our osseous tissue secretes osteocalcin, which will affect pancreatic cells. This could have an effect, they believe, with the onset of type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is a whole different organism. The placenta becomes very important at the time of pregnancy with all of the hormones. I mean, because you know how they talk about, oh, she's pregnant, her hormones are going crazy or whatever. It's because there are so many hormones that are raging. We need them for the fetal development and everything. So yes, the hormones do get a little overproductive and so forth. But we got to make sure that the fetus is taken care of. That's the goal, okay? Estrogen, progesterone, other hormones, I mean, just the prolactin, all that sort of stuff.
I hear a lot of people talk about, like, they make, like, chocolate and stuff like that. That's safe.
They do what?
Like, a lot of people make chocolate out of their placenta or certain stuff out of their placenta and eat, or, like, make it into a vitamin. How do you do that?
Well, I do know that there are some animals, and I have heard of some cultures and so forth that eat the placenta. Yeah. We can, I guess we have to look up the recipe and see what it is, because
the placenta has something inside of it though that's supposed to be like really good for the body, which is why I know some people eat it after they save the placenta and stuff like stem cells. I don't know.
Well, now the umbilical cord, the umbilical cord contains stem cells, and that's why parents today are offered the option of banking the umbilical cord.
Baking or banking?
Banking. Like you would put it
Like
in
bank somebody would fight?
No, like you would put it in a deposit box at a bank.
Oh, banking. Oh.
So it's like literally saved. A lot of controversy over that.
At the bank though?
No.
No, it's not banking.
Well, they'll be there. When we say banking it, that means a facility that is allowing you to have it stored.
Oh, I thought it was like a money.
I thought that too, like,
Yeah.
but I understand now.
No, they call it banking the umbilical cord because it contains Wharton's jelly. Wharton's jelly is literally pure stem cells. All right, and a lot of controversy over that. But then again, you know, that's what they're doing with all of this DNA collection that they're doing. You see, like, oh, the ancestry DNA, they're actually banking that information. Yeah, just saying. So this was actually predicted back in the 80s about the DNA banking and the ramifications of it. And what they predicted back then has now come true. So, you know, that's what's happening. All right, we're going to stop right there for today. And